I'm sorry. That was acting. That's what that was. I don't really care what happens with this movie. I really hope her career is pretty much over. I'd be thrilled to see that. I can't imagine. I mean, Christian, you tell me.
Have you changed up your impression at all, or is it pretty much the same?
Well, the noise is the same. I've not got any more noises in my back pocket. The new infected are pretty terrifying. They're so smart, and they haven't really got a noise. That's the whole point of them. Is they're silent and terrifying.
Ooh, give us a little silent and terrifying.
The creator of the show is finally speaking out about its failure. The Last of Us creator Craig Mazin admits season 2 was a failure. The finale drew over 50% less than the finale of season 1. You lost half of your audience.
The Last of Us was supposed to be HBO's next unstoppable franchise, the perfect storm of prestige TV, gaming culture, and Hollywood star power. But somewhere along the way, that dream began to crumble. The fans turned, the controversy snowballed, and standing right at the center of the storm, Bella Ramsey, the bold, outspoken star playing Ellie, and now the internet's favorite target. But nothing could have prepared her, or HBO, for what came next. Because when The Simpsons, the most savage, unfiltered show on television, took their shot at Bella, they didn't hold back. And the most shocking part? HBO didn't defend her. They stood by and let it happen. So before we dive into the real madness, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe. You don't want to miss what's coming next. The real bombshells are just getting started.
And when and if we get to do more together in future seasons, then we're going to have a problem with
No, I know. I think it's going to be a Pedro situation, a Pedge situ, because
The Last of Us was plagued by complaints of bad casting. And The Last of Us 2 is not faring much better.
To really understand how this all spiraled so far out of control, you have to go back to the moment. The Last of Us Part 2 dropped. A moment that didn't just shake the gaming industry, it split it in half. What was marketed as a bold, emotional sequel to one of the most beloved video games ever created quickly morphed into a firestorm of controversy. Fans who expected to be blown away by the storytelling found themselves blindsided instead by character deaths that felt like gut punches, shocking narrative twists that divided players, and a storyline many accused of being more focused on political statements than staying true to what made the original great. The internet erupted. Fan forums, Reddit threads, YouTube commentary channels, every corner of the gaming world was ablaze with outrage. For every player who defended the sequel's risks, 10 more were calling it a betrayal. And while the months passed and the headlines moved on, that anger, that disappointment, it never truly went away. It simmered beneath the surface, waiting for the perfect target. That target arrived in the form of Bella Ramsey. The moment HBO announced her as Ellie for the TV adaptation, it wasn't just casting news, it was a spark to reignite the fire. Social media exploded with opinions, debates, and raw frustration. Some hailed the decision as bold and refreshing, a talented young actress ready to make the iconic role her own. But for others, it was confirmation of their worst fears. To them, it was proof that HBO hadn't learned a thing from the backlash to Part 2. Bella's appearance, her accent, her public persona, all of it was dissected under a microscope. And when Bella began speaking out, defending the show, mocking the critics, doubling down on the decisions that divided fans, it only poured gasoline on the flames. Her boldness, once seen as refreshing, quickly became interpreted as arrogance. And in the eyes of many frustrated fans, Bella wasn't just playing Ellie on screen, she had become the living, breathing symbol of everything they believed had gone wrong with their beloved franchise. For over 3 decades, The Simpsons have made a name for themselves as the ultimate pop culture assassins, brutally lampooning celebrities, politicians, and cultural disasters without apology. But even longtime fans of the show were stunned by just how direct their latest target was. In one of the most savage parodies the series has delivered in years, The Simpsons introduced a smug, lecture-happy, self-righteous, post-apocalyptic princess oozing with condescension and dripping with carefully scripted sound bites, so thinly veiled as a shot at Bella Ramsey it barely qualified as satire. From the character's patronizing monologues about dismantling outdated fairy tales to the painfully obvious digs at Hollywood's obsession with woke reboots, it wasn't hard to connect the dots. They weren't parodying a character from The Last of Us, they were parodying Bella herself, her public persona, her interviews, her defiance, her tone. And the internet, It exploded. Side-by-sides, TikToks, memes, and brutal commentary flooded every platform within hours. To millions of viewers, the message was crystal clear. Bella Ramsey had become a punchline, and the Simpsons were the ones delivering it. As the parody clips flooded TikTok and Twitter, fans waited for the inevitable. Surely HBO, the same network that had built its empire on bold storytelling and fiercely defended its stars, would come rushing to Bella's defense. A statement? A tweet? Some carefully worded PR spin to push back on the mockery. But what came instead? Absolute silence. Behind the scenes, insiders claim Bella's team went into full crisis mode. Frantic phone calls to HBO, Fox, and even the Simpsons showrunners demanding answers, retractions, anything to blunt the damage. But HBO's response, according to industry whispers, was ice cold. It aired. It's satire. There's nothing to fix. Translation? You're on your own. No press releases, no sympathetic interviews, no corporate shield to soften the blow. And for Bella Ramsey, that silence wasn't just a lack of support, it was a public abandonment. A clear message that the network, and possibly the studio itself, was more concerned with self-preservation than protecting their embattled star. If you thought The Simpsons roast was the low point, think again. Because within days of the episode airing, and the internet collectively shredding Bella Ramsey, the rumors started to leak. Multiple reports from inside Naughty Dog and HBO surfaced, all pointing to the same conclusion. The Last of Us, Part 3, the highly anticipated next chapter of the franchise, had been paused indefinitely. Officially, the excuse was predictable: creative differences. Reworking the vision, the kind of vague corporate language designed to avoid panic. But fans, and industry insiders, weren't buying it. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. The backlash from The Last of Us. Part 2 was still simmering. Bella's casting and public image had become lightning rods for controversy. And now, the world's most infamous animated show had turned her into a meme, and the franchise into a laughingstock. According to some whispers, HBO saw the writing on the wall. Continuing the series in this climate, with this level of hostility and fan resentment, wasn't just risky, it was a guaranteed disaster. It wasn't that long ago Bella Ramsey was being called Hollywood's next big thing, the fearless, refreshingly authentic new face of modern TV. She was everywhere: red carpets, late-night shows, magazine covers, celebrated as a bold, unapologetic voice for the next generation of actors. But in this business, fame is fragile, and perception? It changes overnight. Now, the same industry that cheered her rise is quietly distancing itself. Her name? Whispered in casting rooms as a warning, not an opportunity. Projects that once seemed locked in with Bella attached, quietly searching for new direction. Agents, PR teams, even studio executives allegedly advising their young talent behind closed doors. Don't go full Bella Ramsey. That phrase? Harsh, but brutally effective. And it speaks volumes about how fast the tide has turned. Because in Hollywood, it doesn't take a scandal to sink your momentum. Just a few viral missteps, a divided fan base, and the wrong kind of headlines. Bella's team, once riding high on her success, is now scrambling behind the scenes, desperately working to patch the cracks, control the narrative, and convince nervous studios she's still a safe bet. But in an industry that trades in image over talent, that's easier said than done. But this mess isn't just about Bella Ramsey's image. It's about the slow, very public unraveling of The Last of Us, the franchise that was once hailed as the gold standard for storytelling, both in gaming and on television. What started as a cultural phenomenon has turned into a cautionary tale, tainted by controversy, fan fatigue, and now, outright mockery from mainstream media. The Last of Us went from being the crown jewel in HBO's lineup to the subject of parodies and internet punchlines. And while the brand withers under the weight of backlash, Bella Ramsey, the face of the show, finds herself in an even more dangerous position. The silence from HBO deafening. No press statements, no public defense, no attempt to protect their leading star from the fallout. And for Bella, that silence doesn't read as strength. It reads as panic. It reads as retreat. The interviews have stopped. The tweets are gone. The carefully crafted social media presence, fading. And when The Simpsons, the most ruthless, unfiltered show on TV, turns you into a cultural joke, and your own network doesn't lift a finger, that's not just a PR stumble. That's the sound of a franchise in freefall, and a star dangerously close to disappearing with it. So this is where we are. The Last of Us, once considered untouchable, a titan of storytelling, now teetering on the edge of irrelevance. Its lead star, Bella Ramsey, mocked on national TV, the subject of memes, backlash, and brutal industry whispers. And The Last of Us Part 3, allegedly scrapped before it even had the chance to fix the damage. The question now isn't just whether the franchise can recover, but whether Bella Ramsey can survive the fallout. Did The Simpsons cross the line? Or did they simply say what millions of disillusioned, frustrated fans have been thinking for years? Is Bella Ramsey the victim of toxic fandom, a casualty of Hollywood's obsession with controversy, or the architect of her own downfall? You tell me. Drop your take in the comments. Smash that like button if you think studios need to stop ignoring their audiences. And don't forget to subscribe for more unfiltered deep dives into the wildest, most shocking disasters shaking Hollywood to its core.